Hello, this is Jamie Magrich. Welcome to Jamie's Craft Table. Today I'm going to do a 3-for-1 video. I'm going to do a simple, casual, and then an avid crafter card, all based on the same basic design. So let's get started. I'm going to be using Misty Moonlight, Balmy Blue, Seaside Spray. I'm also going to be using Christmas Gleaming. I'm going to use this sentiment and this stamp here. And then I brought in this stamp here from Textured Essentials for the beginner card. You'll also need some way to clean your stamps off. Okay, so for this is the beginner card. It's a simple stamping card. This one is just stamped directly on the card itself. I do want to show slight variation, so this one I'm going to stamp on a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of Whisper White and then mount that onto my thick card base, which is 5.5 by 8.5 scored and folded at 4 1/4. So let's get started. I'm going to start with the Balmy Blue, which is the lightest of the colors. I'm going to bring in the textured stamp, ink it up. Well, this is a large stamp, so make sure you get ink in the center of it. I don't know if you can see, it's not shiny here. It has a tendency not to get ink in the center, so just keep an eye out for that. Okay, and then we're going to stamp that right here in the center of this right side of this card. Okay, so we're going to bring in our chamois or a rag so you can wash off your stamp. Okay, then we're going to go into the Seaside Spray. This one you can see a little bit better. And I'm going to turn my stamp just for a little bit of variation, and I'm going to move it over this way a little bit, and I'm going to stamp below the one we previously stamped. Okay, we can bring in that chamois, wash it off. Now I'm going to bring in the Misty Moonlight. Pick that up. Get this out of the way. And for this one, I need to stamp off first onto a scratch paper and then stamp it up above here. Again, I'm going to move it over towards the right a little bit, or towards the left, this left side, excuse me. So there's a little space over there. Okay, we're done with this stamp, so let's just wash it off and put it out of the way. Okay, now we're going to bring in the stamp. We're going to be using the Misty Moonlight ink. We're going to stamp once up here at the top. I'm going to stamp it once here in this lighter one. Let's move it a little bit there. And we're going to stamp it once down here at the bottom. Okay, then we're going to bring in the sentiment, deck the halls with boughs of holly. I'm going to stamp that down here. Alright, now you can be done with it and just mount it to the front of the card. I think I will for this one. And that's a simple stamping card. Let's go ahead and just mount it. I'm going to use my Tombow Mono multi-glue because it's easier. Okay, there's the one we just did together. Here's the one I did previous. Now on this one I did it directly on the card, and then I colored in these with Wink of Stella and the ink that was on the stamped image. I did add a little bit of ink from the Misty Moonlight. There you go, there's the beginner card. Okay. This is going to be the casual stamper card. I've added some layers, and I added instead of the stamp for the background, this is a blended die cut circle. So let me grab, I forgot to grab the blending brushes, so let me do that. One more. Okay, so I got 3 different brushes here. Okay, so the parts we're going to need, we're going to use the same inks. Get all these out of here. I have a piece of Whisper White, which is 4 by 5 1/4. I have a piece of Misty Moonlight, which is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. A piece of Balmy Blue, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And my card base, which is thick, which is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored and folded at 4 1/4. Oops, I got 2 card bases here for some reason. Okay, then I have a piece of masking paper. This is the Avery repositionable, removable paper, but you can use any masking paper, even a piece of typing paper would be fine. And we're going to use a 2-inch circle punch, and we're going to cut out of the center of it. I've already done that just for the sake of time. Okay, and why don't I just mount these 2 pieces onto here so that I can get a little bit less off my desk. So I need to mount this one on top of the there's just going to be 1/8 of an inch difference. So the border is going to be like a 1/16 of an inch. We'll mount this to the front of the card. And this is the same size as the front of the card. Okay. So lay that one aside. Okay, now on this piece, move this out of the way so it's not distracting. We're going to take our piece that we punched out, sorry, that backing doesn't want to come off, and I did leave a corner of it on. It just makes it come off easier. So the first thing we're going to do is, and you need both pieces. You need both the positive and the negative. So we're going to put this on here. Just about in the center there, like we did with the other one. And with one of our makeup brushes or whatever ink blending tool you want to use, and the I've forgotten the color, Balmy Blue, ink up our makeup brush, and we're going to ink up this circle with the Balmy Blue. Doesn't look look like it's doing anything, but you'll be surprised when you go to take it off. A little bit more. I want it a little bit darker than that, so a little bit larger brush would probably have been smarter, but okay. I'm going to remove the carefully because we're going to reuse it. Whoops. It's alright. Post-it notes would work for this as well. Okay, then we're going to take this piece that we punched out of there and we're going to cover this one up. Okay. And we're going to put this back down. Let's position it so that tear is on top of this piece, then it won't show if it decides to show. Alright, so I'm going to put that on there like that, and let's use the Misty Moonlight for this one. This is a dark color, so start off your page. That one doesn't need near as much ink. Okay, now we're going to remove it. Don't remove that yet. We're going to move this one down here. I think I wanted to go off the page a little bit. So, like that, I think. Okay. So now we're going to do the Seaside Spray. Same way. If you want to just stamp that texture in this circle, you could do that as well. I didn't do that in mine, but okay. I'm done with this. Take this off. And we've got 3 different circles there, 3 different colors. Now we're going to come in with the holly and the Misty Moonlight, and we're going to stamp those hollies. We're going to stamp the sentiment, same sentiment with the Misty Moonlight. Okay, now I came in with my Wink of Stella, and I started at the base, colored those in, used the ink that was on it to kind of push it around the color a little bit. If you want a little bit more ink, just get a block, add a little bit of ink to your block, just pick up a little bit of it. It's going to be very saturated, so color those in. Start at the base. As it runs out, go out to the edges. One more. Start at the base, the center, go out to the edges. And I'm not going all the way to the edges. Okay, for the hollies, I just did a little like C-stroke in them. You could leave, or the berries, you could leave them solid or white, or you could color them solid. Okay, there's my lid. This side. Now we can mount this to the front of our card. Again, this one is 1/8 of an inch smaller than the one below it, so there's not a whole lot of border. 1/16 of an inch. Okay, then I came in with some holiday rhinestones. I took one of these large ones, put it down here. Small ones, whoops, need to pick up the sticky with it, above it a little bit to the corner, whoops. There we go. Another small one over here. There's card number 2. It's the one we just did together. Here's the one I did previously, so I had a little bit more ink on the center one, but there you go. Okay. Now for the third card. I'm using the same stamps and dies. I'm using the same layers. I have a scrap paper to stamp the hollies on this time. I have 3 2-inch circles cut out of the same paper. The Seaside Spray, Balmy Blue, and Misty Moonlight. I have my 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of white, my Misty Moonlight, which is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8 that I've punched that circle out of. My Balmy Blue, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, which I've punched that circle out of. My card base, which is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored and folded at 4 1/4, and a scrap, which I die cut that Seaside Spray circle out of. Now, for these, I'm going to introduce embossing folders. I'm going to use 3 different embossing folders and run each one of these circles through a different embossing folder. So for the Balmy Blue one, I'm using this folder from the Greenery embossing folders. For the Seaside Spray one, I'm using the Dainty Diamonds. And for the Misty Moonlight, I'm using the Tasteful Textile. And I'm going to go run those through my machine, and I will be right back. Okay, I've got those run through my machine. This one's hard to open. There we go. They're so tiny little things that like sticks inside itself. Okay, so we're going to adhere these onto the front of our Whisper White piece. This one will go here, this one will go here, this one will get put here. So let's go ahead and do that. And I think I just put them on my scratch piece instead of my other piece, so I'm going to have to go trim that out, and I will be right back. I've got that trimmed to 4 by 5 1/4. I'll just use this piece to stamp on then. So I'm going to take the holly, I'm going to stamp it 3 times on here. Okay. And then I'm going to take the wink of Stella and I'm going to color it the same way that I did before. Start at the bottom, pull that ink out. Okay. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and go off and finish coloring these, and then I need to fussy cut them out. So I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera. I don't think you need to see me fussy cutting them out. I'm just going to leave a little bit of a white border around the edge. It makes it easier to make them look neat. Well, I'm almost done coloring these, so I guess it doesn't matter. It's coming out a little bit blotchy, but that's alright. Do these C strokes like I did before. Okay, now I'm just going to bring in my snips. I'll cut one out and then I'll go off and cut the rest. So literally I'm just going to go around the edge. Like that. Cut these all out, and I will be right back when I'm finished. Okay, I'm back. I got those cut out. Now let's bring in this piece again and bring in our sentiment. I'm going to stamp our sentiment down here. Okay, we're done with the ink, so we can put this away. Okay, now we're going to bring in some dimensionals. Some dimensionals on the back of these. backs off. It doesn't want to come off. There we go. I don't know if you notice, I just stuck my fingernail into to pop up those corners. Now I'm going to pop one of these up here. Pop one here. And I'm going to pop one over here. And then I'm going to bring in my layers. Go ahead and layer these two together. And I'm changing where this hole is cut out of, just so that it doesn't have a high spot and a low spot. This will go on the front of the card. This will go on the front of that. Alright, then I'm going to come in with those rhinestones. There we go, there's card number 3. It's the one we just did together. Here's the one I did previously. There's the avid, the casual, and the simple. Well, thank you so much for joining me at Jamie's Craft Table. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope you can find a little bit of time to play with some stamps, ink, and paper.